Today I'm going to be doing a modest little upgrade on the WLToys 144001 to replace the stock ESC and the oversized 550 brushed motor for a cheaper, lighter and less thirsty 2838 brushless motor. The aim of this upgrade is primarily just to improve the runtime, since this RC is mostly for my kids to use. The current battery life of 5 or 10 minutes at most is just way too short for them to fully enjoy it. So I'm hoping this upgrade will double the runtime without forfeiting any power or speed. Obviously I could have gone for a much bigger motor and ESC combo, but then that would have defeated the purpose of this conversion. And with this little motor we get a nice weight saving with this setup, and it's also very cheap. All the links to all the parts and the model are in the video description, so if you want to have a relatively inexpensive tinker with one of these yourself, you can. I'll get all this stripped down and we'll go from there. Since the stock ESC is a combined ESC and receiver, we'll also need to replace the receiver in here as well. You don't have to spend much. You can get a FlySky GT2 or a Dunbar RC transmitter and receiver from Banggood for less than 25 quid. I got a FlySky as it was a little cheaper at the time. Both the links for these are in the description. And since we're now changing the receiver, of course the steering servo doesn't fit the new receiver, so we have to change that as well. This is just an inexpensive metal geared 3.5 kilo servo. And it will just drop right in place of the stock one, so you haven't got to mess around trying to squeeze it into fit, and it costs less than a pack of cigarettes. The only part that hasn't actually arrived yet is a new stock motor mount. I did plan to leave everything I pulled out of this car intact, but it looks like I'm going to have to remove the motor from the mount, which sounds easy, but in my experience these have a tendency to be utterly glued in from the factory. It's probably going to need some help from Mr. Blowtorch. If you don't have a blowtorch, you could use a gas stove or a lighter. All you need to do really is just get the screws hot enough so that the factory thread lock starts to melt, and then this will allow you to turn the screws to get them out. If you do have a new motor mount, you can obviously completely skip this step. For now I'm going to remove the pinion from the motor and then the 2 screws that hold the motor to the mount. With that out of the way, we'll need to slightly elongate one of the holes on the mounting plate to allow fitment of the new motor with its smaller 17 tooth pinion. Make sure you get the correct pinion, the one I linked in the description, as this uses a non-standard tooth pitch of 0.7mm. If you try and use any old 17 tooth pinion, it'll likely be different and will lead to premature failure of the pinion or the spur gear. To elongate the hole, you can use a 3mm needle file or a 3mm rotary burr. Just take off a little bit of material at a time and check the hole alignment with the motor. Keep going until the holes on the motor line up nicely and you can just sort of swing the motor inwards a little bit towards the spur. You only need to remove about 1 or 2 millimeters of material, so just take it steady, and then to finish just use a countersink to allow the screw to sit in the hole properly. The 17 tooth pinion I linked comes with a 2mm hole for the motor shaft. Now our motor has a 3.175mm shaft, so we'll need to take a 3.2mm drill bit and drill this pinion out to the correct size. Assemble the new motor and pinion to the modified plate, but don't use any thread lock yet. You'll see why in a sec. We'll also need to cut away a little bit of plastic from the lower gear cover to make room for the new motor location. Again, just take a little bit off at a time until it's right. Rotate the motor around the prop shaft bearing and lay it into position. Fix it from below just temporarily so that you can inspect the mesh between the 2 gears. If the mesh is good, you can proceed to Loctite everything into place. Now we'll need to remove some material from the top of the gearbox cover in the same way as we did with the bottom half, and that should be the hardest part of this conversion completed, with just the electronics left to install. Install the new steering servo and receiver, replace the top cover and then install the ESC. Tidy the wires as best you can. I'm not too OCD when it comes to wiring, but you can be as neat or as messy as you wish. Just make sure you keep any wires away from rotating parts or you'll be in for a bad time. So here it is in its finished state. Let's pop the cover on and take it for a quick spin. I'm actually pretty amazed. It's significantly faster than it was stock and the runtime has beaten my expectations. I'm getting 15 minutes on the stock 1500 mAh 2S batteries, and I'm getting over half an hour on these 2600 mAh 2S batteries from Banggood. I think at this rate my kids are probably going to crash it before the battery runs out now. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, be a star and drop a like. It's free after all. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, consider subscribing to my channel.